Starting.
Ooh, here we are. It's the Website One meeting, ably cameraman by Nicola, and we have Aaron and Ben and Bill and myself, Sam. Here we go. And I've I'm not screen sharing. I've adjusted the default font size on my text items, so now I don't have to press the increase button so much. Here we are. It's the Website One meeting. I've got to nip off very quickly, but I can maybe just help get an overview. I'll just give you my updates. So for Website One, I am I'm working through fixing up all the data on the premium subscriptions and so on. I would love to be working on the sort of private events feature and so on. I'm not sure if I have time for that this week. I'm off on Wednesday, my wife's birthday. Premium subscriptions data updates is what I'm really doing. Gosh, are there other things that we're blocked on, or there was some weirdness going on? I don't even remember. But so that's me. Let's just go through. I think Nicola, you were telling us already in the previous Scrum that you are having a look at the Sprockets upgrade.
Yes, that's right.
And playing with Jasmine
to see what is happening there. Yeah.
Good show. Yeah, we're going to get that fixed up. Let's just go on there. Bill, how are things going with you? You were working on your sort of own demo app for OAuth.
Yeah, I've not had a chance during the past week to do anything on Website One.
No worries.
I've not got anything to report, really.
No.
I'll have some time during this coming week.
Okay, and is the plan going forward just to continue getting that OAuth app working?
Figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah, good show. So standalone OAuth app. That'd be a great thing to get up on GitHub as just an example. Wonderful. Good show.
Wait, just out of curiosity, is the standalone OAuth app? You're doing that in order to research something about something that needs to
be fixed? So it's a number of reasons. One, to research. Well, for myself to figure out how to do it, and two, see if I can't use that to then do the OAuth in Website One as well.
Okay.
So it's basically two reasons, really.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Ben, how are things going with you?
Well, I guess that my last PR was integrated, I think.
Yes, it's been in development. I don't think we've deployed it yet, but yes. So yeah.
Yeah. So into the develop. Looking for something else, I guess.
Yes. Indeed.
And actually, Aaron's here. We were gonna maybe try to pair on something. So maybe I figured we'd select something appropriate in this meeting.
Yeah. Good stuff. Excellent. Thanks, Ben. Aaron, any? I mean, you've been unwell. Anything to report from your side?
No, I've been pretty sick, so I'm just trying to rest. So I haven't done anything.
Sure. Yeah, and maybe you need some further rest before getting into things. I think the thing that let's just go and have a look at both the board and the what have we got, and the Website One itself. We've got the open pull requests. We've got the board. Yeah, so Ben's thing merged in. We should get that deployed. I know, Nicola, you've been working on deploying the local support stuff and so on. If you have a spare moment to do deploys for Website One, be my guest.
Okay.
Cool. Otherwise I'll get to it kind of tomorrow. So this is the Sprocket Rails that Nicola is working on. This is what I started with Marianne for the private events. I'd love to work on more, but not going to happen anytime soon. This is the one here. We've got the Calm Points linking to activity tab. So I think we've got that working, haven't we, Aaron? I mean, Ben, if you were looking for something to work on, I think Aaron, the thing on here is what's the word? We kind of spiked it, but we maybe need some testing around it, and so that maybe later in the week when Aaron's feeling better, that might be an interesting thing for the two of you to look at together.
And it's that's an easy pull request number to remember since it's a power of 2.
There you go. Yeah, and I think it's kind of the feature. Well, I'm just being told by the person who I'm supposed to be being interviewed by that we need to reschedule. So why don't I just reply to him and say I'll say sure thing. I'll book another date, and that means I can stay in the meeting. There you go.
Okay.
No, I can what's the word? Ratchet down my anxiety level, and we can carry on. Although, yeah, there we go. So
I was already thinking what to say when you leave. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and of course, that would be. I think you do extremely well, Nicola. It's and probably part of the problem is in many of the meetings that I talk for far too much. But yeah, how does that sound to you, Aaron? Would you and Ben working on this one make sense, or were you keen to get into something else?
Sure, that works.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah, that would be a lovely feature to have out. So in that case, I think that kind of covers. So Aaron, it's the Karma activity tab. I think that kind of covers the top level things. I don't know if there's anything that we critically need to work out as a group. Only other thing that I can think of is that now I've got a moment to think about it, is I think, Nick, we've got some ongoing kind of bugs in the background. Nicola, I think you were saying that the Karma not updating,
yes,
that some of these error messages were related to that.
Yes.
We're getting the air brake messages coming through.
And they are related. Yeah, they are related to the Karma calculator. Yeah, there.
Yeah, there you go. So we're getting, yeah. So that's definitely something to look into. Yeah, I mean, we've now got Airbrake is now very accurately reporting all of the many bugs, and this is for many, I think, for a couple of years, it wasn't configured correctly, and so we weren't getting that information, which is frustrating. But there we go. Also, I was worried that the reCAPTCHA system didn't seem to be preventing the, what are they called? Didn't seem to be preventing the systems from, wasn't catching the spam bots. But
yeah,
it seems like recently, I get an email update whenever anybody signs up to the site. Yeah, I don't know. There was we had a big surge of emails that made them look like they were, automatically generated. It seems to have faded away, but maybe there's like a game of cat and mouse going on between Google and the people trying to get around their systems. I don't know if it can dynamically pull in new JavaScript, but yeah. So I guess that's off the radar. And there we go. This potentially, unless somebody wants to bring up something else, this could be a very short meeting.
There are no issues that we need to vote on or anything like that?
Well, we certainly could vote on issues if there were things that people wanted to start work on. I mean, I guess at the moment everybody's got things to work on. These air brake errors, which are related to the Karma calculator. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, we could be having an issue of Karma not updating and voting on it, but I would say, that's up to everybody here. Ben, are you also, besides the one for Aaron, I guess you might be interested in finding something else to work on independently of that, because Aaron might be still under the weather for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess so. The kind of the follow-up feature to the one that you were just trying to remember, the one that
the countdown thing.
Yeah, so the countdown thing will now, when it counts, it will now sort of say that it's gone off afterwards. We had the issue that the front page wasn't counting down. We've now removed actually that functionality from the front page for performance reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's kind of. I was just thinking. I mean, were you interested in the refactoring issues that I brought up in the pull request that we mentioned? I guess they were mainly to do with making the Cucumber things more declarative and less imperative. But they're kind of. That's kind of. I should have removed the WIP from the title before I merged it, but there we go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I sort of wrote a note to that effect. So maybe I should have done that. I don't know.
No, it's entirely. It's certainly helpful.
It doesn't have a very good name.
It's helpful if you do that, but it's entirely my bad for not doing it. Yes. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, there's discussions that we can have about the Cucumber features, but that I think that's kind of by the by. I'm trying to think if there's another thing that would give us a big win. The other thing to mention is I did start a React front end. Which just basically this is the React mob on Friday, and I just got as far as inserting React Bootstrap into the kind of default React boilerplate. I was kind of like, and we could get the different bits and pieces. So, I mean, it's sort of it's a bit of a spike in the first instance, but we have.
But is this with an eye towards eventually converting the whole front end to being React? Yeah,
in principle. I mean, we've done a lot of like sort of preparatory work with React, and in particular, I've managed to get the React acceptance testing framework Nightmare actually working somewhat reliably, and actually because it uses Electron, I'm kind of like warming to it and feeling it might actually be more stable than Capybara for front end testing. The
Electron.
Yeah, you know Electron. I mean, there's the thing that Slack, the desktop version, runs in. So when you run your, if you use Nightmare to acceptance test your React app, then let's go here. It will basically, I mean, it'll run headless, but you just flick a switch and it will it'll open your web app in a Electron app, and you can see it running automatically. Same as you get with Selenium, driver, you'll click to Chrome driver or what have you with Capybara. It's just that it was always like a pain for us to be switching backwards and forwards between these different drivers to kind of, and then stuff that would work in one would not work in the other. But to have a kind of to have a sort of a single, app, which is like Electron, that runs in both headless and non-headless mode, I think is a huge step forward. But so I've got that all working for the SFN React system, and so this is the repo here for all the front end React. But yeah, particularly now that we've got the Rails behind Agile Ventures set up so that it delivers an API, like the thing that I'm using to adjust all the premium subscriptions data and so on is that's all being done over an API.
Okay.
So, and I'm kind of like, we've got the data model in the Rails app, which I'm kind of loath to throw out or have to completely rebuild from scratch, because that's got some value to it, I think. But so in principle, I'll just back up. I did spend a day or so trying to, or at least a React mob session, trying to integrate sort of React sprinkles into the existing Rails app, and it just seemed like our acceptance testing framework was not going to play with that very nicely. What I like about the idea of having like a pure React front end and then a kind of an API on the back end is that could be a Rails API to start with. But if we then subsequently wanted to migrate it to being,
another thing,
like Phoenix, whatever we wanted, we've got a clean separation between the front end is this, one React thing, and it talks over the API to the back end, and we can have people working, on those two things completely separately. And as long as the API is standardized between the two, it can all in principle just work. So I was just exploring, what kind of options we have for styling and things for a React front end. And I mean, there's a lot of work to do, I think, before we could switch them over. But it's also that we could throw out various things, like, for example, the Mercury editor. Like, and I think, we may just like throw out the ability to edit pages within the site. And that would make it easier for us to upgrade to Rails 5 on the back end, introduce WebSockets, and just make the whole thing like something that actually looks like it was made, like recently, as opposed to in the early 2000s. You know what I mean? yeah, so if anybody wants to get involved in that, there's the. Should I post the repo? Sorry, Ben, gone.
Are there any? Has it gotten to the point where there are any specific issues now? That is it being developed that systematically yet?
No, not at all. Not at all. This is an earlier stage than the Paranaut system. If you know.
Oh,
what I mean.
okay.
We've got like a the thing that I mainly did last Friday was proof of concept that I could get some styling in and I could get deployment, and so this is up there on a site. It doesn't do anything.
One of the things that I can help with is to integrate it to make a continuous deployment.
Yeah,
I did the same this weekend, so I can do that.
Yeah. Well, one of the key things actually with I think something like this and starting the new one would be, like updating the README and the contributing MD to say, what is this app for? What are we looking to do? I mean, that's something I'm terrible at leaving until the last minute or what have you. But yeah, this is at the stage where we need to figure out what the next things are to do.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a longer term thing there. Yeah. So I mean, does anybody have any tickets that they want to get voted on?
Not me.
Not me either. No.
Then I would say let's leave that for now. I think there's like things to be done. Unless there's anything else that we want to look at together, let's give that a wrap for the meeting.
I was going to say about. I remember you mentioned probably not the last meeting. But I think it might have been the one before about someone, I can't remember who, was going to possibly do a site design or something. Is that
right? Yeah, we've got.
If you're bringing in React.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, we've got Lara, who's one of our mentors, has got a friend who's a business analyst who she wants to get involved with a potential site redesign. I think Lara she's got a lot of good design skills, so I think they're interested in that. Absolutely. Yeah, and so I mean, I'm thinking that by starting with a fresh React front end, that allows us to kind of come at the design for the site and the layout as a kind of a new thing. We can kind of let go of commitments to certain or trying to make certain things that were in the old site continue to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I've had a lot of discussions with different people. I mean, we did do this design sprint, which generated this kind of infographic.
Yeah, you've shown that one before.
Yeah. Which we might take some ideas from. We've got to talk about the marketing intern maybe doing some mock-ups of different pages based on some of the ideas from this. But yeah, absolutely. This I'm thinking, if we can get the React app up and working, this gives us a canvas in which to do new designs and try out different alternatives.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if one was going to come before the other, or I guess the React will come before the design then.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the having done this, it's not committing to this being the design. I'm more exploring, can we set up a pipeline such that we can, have like a React app and, have some, deterministically running tests that will ensure that it operates and we can develop. And it's, this is sort of boilerplate already for the design to be completely changed, really. I'm just checking here that, so for example, the interesting thing here is using Bootstrap with this is slightly different from the setup that we would have we currently have with the Rails Bootstrap, in that we've got like a React Bootstrap NPM module that goes in this. And then when we look at the code that's associated with it, is this the right website? There we go. Yeah, if we go and look at the source in here, and then we look at I'm going to pull it out. Yeah, so we've actually we've now got, these are Bootstrap classes, but they're now components in React.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, my background fear is that the whole React ecosystem is a little complex, if you know what I mean. And so, for example, like the React Bootstrap all works. It's got a big disclaimer on it saying we haven't yet released our 1.0. There could be breaking changes. You know, we entered into the building of the whole Agile Ventures in the first place with the idea that we would use these layers of acceptance testing and unit testing and so on and everything to make our lives easier. As the site has grown bigger and the bleeding edge of the acceptance testing stuff with the evolving ecosystem underneath, Cucumber, Capybara, Poltergeist, Phantom.js, all this stuff. I mean, it's for the time that the tests have saved the acceptance. I mean specifically the acceptance tests. I think also about the time that we've burnt trying to keep them running and consistently with problems that have been in the testing side itself, not just on the application code, if that makes sense. So I then, like, in order to go forward with something like, this system, I need to look at the testing ecosystem and think, if we go forward with this one, I mean, there's Angular and Ember and other things we could be doing. Maybe we should be developing all those three in parallel. Will we end up spending 80-90% of our time banging our heads against the framework, or will it actually be smooth enough that we can make progress? And when for example people come up with nice designs, that we can actually get them in there and keep all the functionality working at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. I've definitely already had firsthand experience with the frustration of tests taking way longer and lots more energy and thought than the actual code itself. I mean, yeah,
it's a common challenge. And I mean, some people would say that it's actually, the important thing about the test is not the test per se; it's that they force you to think about your code more deeply, and that any mechanism that forces you to think about your code more deeply. Like, some people are very big fans of hammock-driven development, where you spend a lot of time in a hammock thinking about your code, and then you write your code, as opposed to writing lots of tests. There's also this idea that like unit tests are supposed to help you push you towards a design in which you have lots of isolated components that to kind of reduce the overall complexity of the system. But then you're often doing the unit tests in the context of a framework, which actually you can't change so easily. So yes, I mean we're all, I think, the holy grail is that sweet spot of we've got these frameworks where it's easy to work in them, and the test frameworks work well, and when we make changes they quickly tell us about things that are problems, and we don't get huge arrays of false positives or false negatives due to intermittent failures. I don't know if we've actually realized that yet, but we live in hope as a tech community. I mean, I'm not talking about Agile Ventures, I'm talking about the the whole tech community worldwide, really. But yeah, this was not too difficult. I did have to bash my head a lot against Nightmare and the testing for the React, particularly when we're doing it in C9. But once I brought it back onto my own computer, and then with a few kind of breakthroughs, I kind of got it sort of stabilized, and that's given me that was like, okay, well, let's see what we can do with this. So yeah, all right, good show. Well, unless anybody else has any other questions or anything else they want to get sorted, or feedback on how we're running the project, we could get back into a routine of having retros and things if people wanted. I'm always looking for ways to which we can improve and get more done. And I mean, ultimately, we want a system that communicates Agile Ventures' value proposition to people and lets more people get value from the system, and learn about other types of coding and Agile development, and help more charities around the world to do great stuff and support and make the world a better place. Is what it's all for. But if not, then we've got, I think, we're going to break, and there's a new member meeting starting in about half an hour, which of course you're all familiar. But if you want to drop by and tell new members about your experiences of getting set up with AV and how that all goes, you'll be very welcome. But
all right.
I know we're all busy. Great stuff. Well, good to see you all.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Thanks very much, everyone. I'll see you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Next week. Take care.